Welcome back to the Crypto's Key conversation. We have some breaking news here from Eleanor Chair that says, breaking, a letter that appears to be from the Bahamian Office of Attorney General and Ministry of Legal Affairs says Sam Bankman-Fried has been arrested following criminal charges filed by the U.S. The letter below. So if I click in here, you can kind of take a pause and kind of read through it. And then there's some verifications right here. It says U.S. Attorney of SDNY. So they're talking about what Watcher Gruer had put up here. It says just in U.S. files criminal charges against FTX founder and Sam Bankman-Fried. So right here it says USA Damian Williams earlier this evening, Bahamian authorities arrested Samuel Bankman-Fried at the request of the U.S. government based on a sealed indictment filed by the SDNY. We expect to move to unseal the indictment in the morning, and we'll have more to say at the time. So coming over here, this is just, she had just put this out earlier where she was talking about, says breaking, Senator Toomey and Senator Sherrod Brown just released a statement in which they say Sam Bankman-Fried has declined to attend a hearing in front of the Senate Banking Committee, quote, in an unprecedented abdication of the accountability. They say that Sam Bankman-Fried lawyers are unwilling to accept service of the subpoena. So the crazy thing about this is people have been talking in the community, like people like, Digital Asset Investor and Stefan Huber and them, they're saying, wow, he's arrested just before, he has to confront or, stand before the hearing to Congress. I think that's what they were talking about. I'll find it. I think I have it in my content up here. But the crazy thing is, like, it seems like everything is happening, in a sense, almost to their plans. It almost seems like that everything is coordinated a certain way. Like even this right here, Digital Asset Investor says Sam Bankman-Fried literally just said he's playing video games during, I guess while he was in the Twitter space. So I'm convinced his parents are coaching him to act as detached as possible to be able to claim that he isn't capable of comprehending the seriousness of the situation. So clearly, I mean, he has some smart people in his corner, some very powerful people, with his parents being included in that. So obviously they have some sort of like planned. Obviously they were very, very particular about how they did certain things and how they set up their infrastructure and everything. So it's not surprising that they have some elaborate like way of handling things. And then for him to even act as detached as he is, he's not fooling anybody. He's supposed to be this genius, this smart guy, this, massive crypto leader prodigy type thing. It's like, well, why is he playing dumb now? Even Ben had put it up earlier. This is Benjamin Cowan from Into the Cryptoverse. It says, Sam Bankman-Fried admitted he is playing video games while on Twitter Spaces right now. So many people lost so much in his FTX scam, and he is playing video games in the Bahamas while he gives out half-baked answers to some of the most important questions people have. He says, I kept wondering what the constant clicks were that I kept hearing. Thankfully, someone flat out asked him if he was playing video games, and he answered yes. I mean, it's just tragic, man. Moving on here. I mean, that's good news. I'm not trying to just brush that over. I mean, that's absolutely huge. I mean, obviously, there was probably some sort of plan behind it. Right here, James Rule XRP says about time. And then Blockchain Savant says just in time to avoid testifying in front of Congress. And that's kind of what I was just talking about. That's what people were talking about in the community as well. But Eleanor Terrence debunked the whole settlement between Ripple and the SEC on December 15th. It says our sources close to the case say there is no truth to the December 15th rumor as they did with the November 15th one. So I personally think it's probably just another FUD tactic, build some excitement, come out the 15th, there's no settlement, and there's just a bunch of negativity from haters and people that are upset that there wasn't a settlement, which caused further decline within the XRP digital asset. Jungle Eek says, I doubt if a settlement happened, it would have been known this far ahead of time. I suspect if something breaks, it will have no warning. So he's saying it's going to be just out of nowhere and imminent to where people can't even react. He says, with that being said, if it settles out, it's pretty one-sided. It's all in the SEC's hands. Charles never said where his info came from. I mean, really, he just kind of spewed it out. And I'm wondering if it was actually a rumor that he heard, or is it something that he started? I'm not trying to, spread FUD or anything, but I think about these things whenever I hear people say certain things, especially after, he claims that the XRP community was attacking him and he was kind of done with it. Who knows, man? Everyone's got their own agenda, and it's unfortunate. James K. Fallon had put this up. This was December 9th when he was saying parties request that the court set a deadline of January 4, 2023 by which Non-parties must ask to seal any portions of the summary judgment materials or else waive any objections to the court's ruling on the party sealing applications. And then he had put this up just 3 hours ago. It says motion granted. So the motion was granted. So just some more updates within the community. Shout out James K. Fallon for that. I think I just put that up there. I wanted to talk about this for a second. This is from Mr. Intuitive Troomers Only. He says, how can a scam and a con save the entire industry? So there's been talk, from YouTubers on Twitter, people are saying, Ripple and XRP are the last line of defense for the entire industry. Obviously, Library lost within litigation within the SEC. They're talking about how the Ripple versus SEC case is truly going to set precedent on a going forward basis for the entire industry. So you got people, over the years saying, oh, it's a banker's coin, it's a scam, Ponzi, whatever, it's a crap coin. And then you have like people like Jim Cramer saying it's a giant con. It's like, okay, well, why all this negativity, right? All this FUD. But then, now haters are claiming that, this is supposed to save the entire industry. It's supposed to set precedent for the entire industry. It's like almost when it fits their narrative and it's convenient for them, they almost in a sense want to back or jump in the bandwagon, which, at the end of the day, us in the XRP community, we welcome it. Come support us, come join the community. Absolutely. We're all supposed to be on the same team anyways. But it's just tragic that, when it's convenient for other people, especially when they fear, their projects are going to be attacked or, they're next on the chopping block for, the SEC coming after them. It's like, XRP and Ripple, they got to save the day. Bragg House and them got to save the day. It's like, oh, well, if they settle, what happens to the rest of us? It's like, at some point, man, people got to step up just like Ripple did and fight the good fight on their own. They got to stand on their own. There's a lot of information that the XRP community and alone have surfaced in regards of conflicts of interest, scam, blatant scams, blatant conflicts, and just corruption in general. So you actually got a lot of information to really, go with. If you genuinely want to utilize, say there was some sort of settlement between Ripple and the SEC and, information was redacted that you couldn't utilize to protect yourself in regards to what happened within litigation with the Ripple and the SEC. So you couldn't utilize it to back your corner, right? If the SEC came after you, there's a lot of information out there that you can use to build a case. Absolutely. But, it's up to everybody else, obviously, especially the people that were kind of still calling us crap coins, still calling Ripple and XRP, scams, cons, whatever the case is, when they could have been supporting Ripple and the XRP community from the beginning, right? All those people, it's like, well, won't you put up hundreds of millions of dollars and fight your fight? And that's kind of like what the community's been talking about. There's kind of been some back and forth and conversations that's been happening. But at the end of the day, we want what's best for the entire industry. And I truly believe that Ripple versus SC can truly set precedent for the entire industry. And who knows, if a settlement happens, who knows what kind of language and verbiage is going to be there, because we know that Bragg House and Ripple said blatant. Once we get regulatory clarity for XRP moving forward, that's an automatic settlement right there, right now. So it's like, who knows what the other stipulations will be in regards of what the SEC is asking, whether it's redactions, suppressions, and other things, who knows? That's why I think people are kind of freaking out, if Ripple ends up settling instead of going the distance and winning this thing outright. But at what risk? At what risk is Ripple willing to take? I don't know. Just kind of a weighing game. I thought that was interesting. I think it's a great conversation. I would love to get with a bunch of different YouTubers and just have an open discussion about, how they feel about this and what it means. John Deaton, digital asset investor, and, other XRP community members, they do a great job of kind of breaking things down, of like kind of seeing both sides. And that's kind of what I've been seeing. It's like, okay, well, yeah, we want to, do what's best and just for the entire industry. But at the same time, Ripple just put 100 million plus time, blood, sweat, and tears, been scrutinized for all these years now. It's like, it's about time for them to get something that benefits them as a company in the digital asset of XRP as well, in the community that's been standing there, fighting the good fight right alongside Ripple. Moving on here, this is from John Deaton. I said somebody poked the bear when I saw this. It says, it's from Miranda Devine. It says, bombshell exclusive from Thomas Kanachi, Fox News. Biden's SEC chairman Gary Gensler deleted key details of meetings with George Soros, Hillary Clinton, and Nancy Pelosi from the public version of his calendar. Did they discuss FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried? John Dean said, enough is enough. Gary Gensler believes he can do whatever he wants with no oversight. The SEC won't even provide public calendars of Gary Gensler or of other SEC staff. And when people like me state that the SEC has become an innovation-killing cesspool of corruption, we're the bad guys. Absolutely. He continues. He says, I got this email from the SEC. This is because I have asked for Hemans' public calendar. They sent me a calendar entries that said there was a meeting with his office on June 14, 2018 with Ripple. I pointed out that this couldn't be Hemans' calendar because he was in San Francisco that Friday. So if I click in here, you can kind of see it. Freedom of Information Act. Office is still consulting with other offices regarding requests of whatever that number is. We hope to issue a final decision within a couple weeks. In the interim, here, if you have any questions, please contact me. So, I guess they sent that. He continues. He says, this has been going on for 9 months. I said the man gave a speech in San Francisco on June 14, 2018. The calendar you provided doesn't list the speech, yet his trip was paid for by the government, and the speech he gave is on the SEC website today. Only when I sent them a draft complaint I was filing did they send an email where we are still working on. That's what he's saying there. It should not be this difficult to review the calendar of public servants, unless, of course, they're not working for the public, but on behalf of a select few. I mean, dang. I mean, it's quite evident, based on all the stuff that we've been surfacing over the past 2 years, that they're not out for, the public. They're not out for the best interest of, the investors that they so-called set out to protect. They're there to protect themselves, their careers, their movement up, the chain, and the incumbents. And that's just the reality based on the facts that we see. And that's in my opinion, of course. It's from Stefan Huber. So I've told you time and time again on this channel, whenever we see our chairman Gensler of the SEC answer interview questions with that roundabout, bull face, I can't stand that grin that he makes when he says, oh, I'm not going to talk about any one particular asset, when we know dog well he talks about particular assets behind closed doors with people that aren't even in, the SEC. It's just embarrassing. Uh-oh. I had to shut that down. My phone went off. So Stefan Huber says, quote, let's be absolutely clear. We at the SEC never talk about specific tokens. We just can't. It's a legal thing, except about Bitcoin. In this one time about Ethereum. But that's a long story. I mean, it's crazy. I said, seriously, I can't stand when he responds to questions the way he does. Arrogant and shameful chairman, in my opinion, of course. And that's just the dog truth right there. I'm going to end on this one right here. This is from the Digital Asset Investor. It says, look who they have on to try and do backflips to make Sam Bankman-Fried look like something other than a fraud. So let's take a quick listen into this.
From what you've seen thus far, may be unfair to prejudge given that we don't have all the facts. What do you think?
Look, I think there was obviously a great deal of bad behavior here that we would think was bad behavior from our perspective as to how you run a financial institution in the United States, but also from a general perspective in how you handle any business.
But what about the idea that some of these laws that we have here around securities and all sorts of other things that might otherwise, things that maybe happened would have constituted fraud or worse here, wouldn't there?
Well, let me say this. We have an incredibly well-developed and rigorous legal system around securities markets, securities issuance, securities trading, all of those things. But its basis is in the common law. And outside the United States, there is still a fair amount of common law built around fraud and the like. What does our securities law system do? It creates processes, requirements, transparency, inspection that makes it much easier to detect fraud and prevent fraud. So, it's not, I'm not saying that around the world fraudulent activity isn't policed. We just have what I would say is an incredibly rigorous system for deterring it, detecting it, and when it exists.
So really, I mean, just the ending alone, the last, I would say 30 seconds, we have a rigorous process, a developed process in detection and prevention and in handling. It's like, you're talking about transparency, detecting and handling, deterring. I mean, Sam Bankman-Fried was meeting with the chairman of the SEC and the SEC. I mean, you got Gary Gensler in the SEC going after the likes of Kim Kardashian, right? But they miss, the BlockFis, the Celsiuses, the Do Kwons and the Terra Lunas and the FTX. I mean, come on. And we've been bringing up the ETHgate scandal as well. It's like, who are you kidding? It's shameful. There's really, I'd be surprised if there's any trust or faith within the SEC at all. Even though I'm not saying that all people in the SEC are corrupt or and unjust. I'm not saying that. I'm sure there's good people in there, but the view in the public eye of the SEC, shameful. Absolutely crazy, man. That is hilarious. Let me go ahead and pop in a laughing emoji real quick, because that is just comical. But that's what I have for you. Let me go ahead and check CoinGecko here while I'm here. We're still under a $900 billion market cap, sitting at $888 billion. Bitcoin sitting at 17,213. Ethereum sitting at 1276. XRP is sitting just under 39 cents. Probably having a little bit of movement because of the so-called rumor that was sent out. But that's the update I have for you. Make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversation YouTube channel. Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at CryptoIsKey1. I really appreciate your support out there. I truly do. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.